So you want to take your aim from this to this.
Broken. Reloading.
Air package touching down.
I downed an enemy.
Confirm kill.
Well then, you're in luck, because today's video is all about how I have improved my aim in Apex in the last 2 to 3 months. Way more than I did in the last 3 years, right? Not even, it's been 5 years. I've been playing Apex since Season 3, and lately my aim has got way better than it used to be. And that is because I went and I have studied, a lot of the general aiming theory, so to speak, for Apex. And I can condense it into 2 main factors and 2 main things that will make your life a lot easier. Number 1 being a little something called recoil moving, where if you move in the opposite direction to where you're horizontally moving your camera while shooting, which you'll see in about 3 seconds here, it gets rid of recoil entirely. We do not know why this works. Genuinely haven't a clue. That is recoil moving there, what I just did. Really basic example, but you can use it in mid to close range fights. Long range fights, you would want to be using recoil control. But I'll be honest with you, I'm level 800, no, 900 by now, right? And I don't have any of the recoil patterns fully memorized anymore. I used to, but now I use recoil moving because A, it gives me more brain space to concentrate on anything else in the fight, and B, in Apex, the most important thing you can be doing is reducing recoil where possible. And recoil moving is something all the pros use and just don't tell you about, because, could be out of not wanting Respawn to patch it, but also because if everyone's a pro, no one's special. And while these won't make you pro level, they will improve your aim instantly. And, it's not going to permanently fix your aim, it's not going to aim for you, but it gets rid of recoil, which is a massive challenging aspect for people, because going into a game like Fortnite where it's just hit scan to Apex where it's recoil based is very hard for many, and recoil moving gets rid of that kind of, I suppose, that struggle, and it's just generally good for your aim, as you saw in the clip. While it won't make your aim permanently better and better than anyone else's, it gets rid of that hard aspect. And the second tip, which I find really important for playstyles like mine, aim by looking at the enemy, not looking at your crosshair, which is that red dot or the white dot in the middle. It's, what the game gives you as a reticle to aim with. And if you don't know, or you couldn't tell by my tone, I was being sarcastic, because realistically, once you're not long range, you want to be looking at the enemy and not the reticle, because if you're looking at the reticle, that is going to blur out the rest of your vision, because believe it or not, when you focus on something, your brain cuts out all the processing, right, of anything around it. You'll notice it if you ever tunnel vision on anything. And you do not want that while aiming, especially in a close range fight. As you'll see here, I changed my color to red just to, reiterate my point. But while looking at the enemy rather than the crosshair, that makes your tracking way better, because, you're reacting to the enemy and not where they are in relation to your crosshair. And also, you are giving yourself a way better view of the enemy, because if you're focused on keeping them in your sight, it's a lot easier than focusing on keeping your crosshair over them, because your crosshair can blend into so many things, whereas your sight doesn't blend into anything, and it is that zoomed area that gives you an advantage. And there's a load of different aim styles. Mine wouldn't necessarily be flicky. You can see here I don't flick my aim. I like to be more precise and reactive, whereas some people are very flicky. You see there that I'm good at readjusting my aim, and that is something you always want to be good at, because if you're not readjusting your aim in fights, you're going to mess up. Positioning is very important, but being able to readjust your aim on the fly is also very important. And using all these tips together is going to massively up your general talent in Apex and make your life a whole lot easier. The jittering there was, I was talking about how when I'm warming up, my aim is very jittery lately, and sometimes that helps in a fight, but most of the time wouldn't recommend it. I'm doing my own further research into it, and I will update you guys on the results, but it's not something I would recommend for a newer player. And that is all. If you enjoyed this, leave your opinions and your tips for any other, new players if you're experienced. And I hope you consider liking and possibly subscribing.